Sex workers at Reddit. What is the worst request a client has given you? I had a guy once ask me to just lay completely still. He did the same. Blinked kinda hard when he came. And was done. Stared into my eyes the whole time. The most awkward of my life. But at least I got paid. I haven't had too many bad experiences, but I did get a pretty unique request. So I do online work. I had a guy assisting me one day who told me sponges turn him on. The word sponge. The smell of one. Touching one. Doing dishes. All of it. So we roleplayed like I was washing dishes, and I sent him a little video of me cleaning with a sponge, like, look how soapy and sudsy my sponge is getting. I'm trying to clean up, but I'm just making such a mess, and he ate that up. It's nice to get something completely brand new every once in a while, lol. I punched a pillow as hard as I can for an hour. While saying his mom's name. I'm so normal. So I have a genuine fear of balloons, latex balloons specifically. I've posted about it jokingly online. But for the most part it's not widely known. A man messaged me a few months back asking for feet pictures. And I was super excited that it had finally happened to me. I used to get so jealous of girls that would be asked for feet pics and turn them down like, honey, send them my way. Turns out, he has a foot fetish, but he's also Luna. He has a balloon fetish. I thought it was a friend pranking me at first. But he was legit. He knows about my fear of balloons. So we've settled on using a beach ball as a compromise. Every few months. One guy used to want me to make him come in a spoon and then feed it to him. That was weird. Another guy kept insisting that I tell him that I love him. That just made me sad. Well, the love part guy hits me hard. I feel one day I have to do that too, lol. I now wonder if I'm good looking enough to make money ting on people off of Craigslist. Thanks. Reddit. I sold foot pics videos Skype sessions a few years ago. Before the market became absolutely flooded. I had a lot of people asking for me to stomp on small animals, bugs, mice, reptiles, etc. That's against my moral code. And icky. So I never did it, but even if I was willing to do it, they wouldn't pay very much for it. Also saw some messages from a friend I made in the business where some French dude asked her to cut off a toe and sell it to him. So he could eat it. Not sure if he was just trolling, but honestly I would not be surprised if he was serious. Or of course there's the people who asked if I had any naughty photos of myself from before I turned 18. After reading some of the stuff I got a negative boner. He had a load of big blackheads and dilated paws of whiners on his back, and he asked me to pop them and eat them. I declined. This same guy liked being ate on. Being puked on and sticking his fingers up my nose and eating my snot. Also one guy asked me to in his mouth. Nope. Some weird ones. One client had a foot fetish and would spend his 45-minute session putting bulldog clips on the underside of my feet. It was pretty painful, but I got paid well and didn't have to do anything physical with him. In the intro room the client told me he wasn't looking for anything physical but asked if I would walk on his back. Easy, I'm in. Go into the booking, and what he actually wanted was for me to walk on his back in stilettos. Engraven, fake, initials onto his chest with my heel. Stomp on his genitals. Walk on his face. Spit on and demean him. It was actually one of the most horrendous things I ever did. I'd rather a creepy old dude than ever take a booking like that again. I'm just amazed he survived having a T90 on top of him. I had a guy book an appointment. The screening and everything leading up to the appointment was totally normal. A few important things to note: he and I were about the same age, late 20s. And I do not advertise fetish. My brand is pretty much girl next door. I arrive. We chat a bit. Then suddenly he asks me to roleplay. Things escalate quickly as he wants me to beat his stepmother and torture his balls. That appointment ended quickly. The is with the surprise ball torture. It's like it's all the same dude. To go to Starbucks. Ask for a cup. Pee in it. Leave it there for him to drink it. 2k. Most guys were very normal. They wanted to be pegged or have me dressed up. But this one, OMG. I died laughing when he texted me what he wanted. Edit. Also, the professor at a very well-known university in the US used to make me meet him and give him my underwear. 100 per pair. Not a sex worker, but I used to live close to a gogaba in Thailand. I would eat in the same places as the workers there. Countless stories about men wanting to defecate on them or them doing it on the customers. One guy. He was very tall and wide. He rented all the girl in the club and the Amazon. Must have been 15 or so. They just had to lie next to him and cuddle for the whole night. Gave all of them a huge tip. Came in every night for 2 weeks. The bonus for me was that the place closed early and I did not have to listen to the crappy music every night. Some guy wanted my friend to shove a cucumber up his ass. He paid her a cute $500 for a 20-minute stunt with the cucumber. My friend is, and she has a regular client who asks that she spits orange juice in his eyes. With or without pulp. Not a sex worker, but I had a guy ask me if I could get my dental records and read them to him. He also wanted to tell him how much pain was involved with my procedures. Another time, right in the midst of things, he asks if he can cath me. I was out of there. $2,000 to send a vid of me having SXW my dog. I blocked him. My mom used to be a sex worker, and one time this guy wanted her to stab a hamster to death with a syringe. He provided the hamster and syringe in front of him. She stole the hamster and his money without doing it. I work with a 94-year-old dementia patient. He wants to pay me $100 to just lick my big titties. Just once sit in his lap, motorboat my titties, just let me play with you a little. Not a sex worker, but he makes me feel like one. Edit. Thank you for the 4 awards. Zoom copyright airing. I am non-deserving of them. Co-worker used to work with a guy who is into scat. Except this scat involved a glass table. Apparently he liked the woman to sit on top of the glass table and while he laid under it and beat off. Some advice to any sex worker that is prepared to do this. Make sure you charge as much as they will give for this kind of service. Don't get shortchanged. Remember, a good business's person leaves nothing in the table. Edit. Yeah, you zero Grayson repeated the joke, but it's my dumbass fault for making a typo. Clearly a lot of people needed the correction anyway, so it's all good. Living in Athens. Working for peanuts. I lived in a cheap apartment in a seedier part of town. I got to meet all the neighbors over the time I was there. The lady in the basement was running a brothel. She was usually the only one working. Every Sunday 3 men, an old man, a middle-aged and young man, would rock up and sit outside her door. One day, when we got on familiar enough terms, I asked her, "How come you entertain these 3 same time every week?" She said it was a tradition among some Greek families. This one in particular, that son, father and grandfather would call into a brothel and have sex on the way home from church. They were sharing the same prostitute. I don't know whether it is generally a tradition or not, but it was with this family. This seriously reads like the setup for a joke. I knew a guy who started doing foot fetish work on Craigslist because he had huge feet. He'd go to someone's house and they would worship and play with his feet while they jerked themselves off. No actual sex involved. Then it escalated to where he started eyeing on customers. Then one day a man asked to get shat on. It was a nice sum of money. So the guy lay down on the floor while my friend crouched over him and dropped a hot, slippery turd in the guy's mouth. As the client in this situation, the breach of privacy and seeing this posted online leaves a bad taste in my mouth. Reddit makes me believe that sex workers never actually have sex with their clients. They just beat their balls and poop on them. A guy wanted me to sell him videos of me pooping as well as sell him my actual hand in a jar. It would have been an over $1,000 job, but no way could I do it. Also was asked to sell a video of my boyfriend peeing on my face and in my mouth. Said no to that one too. I dom online. Well, one client really gets off on the whole human toilet thing and it's going fine, I guess. Make him lick toilets. Degrading him. Make him film himself so I can show other doms and they can all laugh at him cause he gets off on that. Pun intended. But then he requests that I in a jar and mail it to him so he can eat it. So anyway. I know that's not incredibly wild. But it's the one that sticks out in my mind. I have a friend who blew an old. Too much going on in this thread. I used to know a sex worker and she used to say that the most common weird thing she gets, which is actually really common, is guys wanting her to bend over naked and fart in their face. My wife would do that for free. Not a sex worker but once dated a guy into spicy stuff. It got so spicy he wanted me to agree to be bundled up in his car boot while he drove me out into the forest and watched me dig my own pretend grave while he held me at pretend gunpoint. I declined. I'd found my limit. The scary part was that I asked him, so what are you going to do when that isn't enough, and he replied, dunno. Haven't got past this bit yet but I do know I have a problem. Ex-sex worker but stepchild for sure kink wise. But honestly any sex worker will tell you the worst request is constantly being asked to have unsafe sex or compromise your worth. It's the absolute worst part. As a regular client I won't even dare ask for unsafe sex. Someone agreed to have unsafe sex with me. Who knows how many other people she agreed to do it with. Many years ago I worked security in a gentleman's club. Every 5 or 6 weeks this one dude would come in and have a special request. Always the same request. So we put him and the lady in a monitored booth. CCTV so we can make sure there ain't no violence or... So anyway, this bloke's request would be to have our lady with the biggest natural boobs to be completely naked and wearing red high heels. Then he would want her to jump on and generally grind stamp on his ball bag and penis, whilst making her boobs bounce as much as possible. He wouldn't get off until he was bleeding. Then he wanted her to on him after he'd finished. Each time he'd be paying like $200 for this. He was a strange dude. I definitely got the RP stalker feeling from him. Easy money for the lady though. At this rate. I acted out the request of a RP roleplay which ate me up emotionally for years. The guy gave off serial killer vibes and I didn't have any friends or family at the time and I was terrified I'd just disappear without anyone knowing. I restructured how I worked after that night and started working primarily as a dom. So I felt like I had more control of my encounters with clients. That night was almost 7 years ago. And I've been done with sex work for 5 years. Shortly after I quit, I had an experience where I was actually RP'd. And anytime I think of the roleplay I get a nauseous feeling in my stomach for doing it. Had a 20-something Japanese man with Yakuza tattoos ask me, a Beacons of Gondor level white woman, to step on him and call him all sorts of extremely racist names. We spoke about what he wanted prior and although he specifically asked for these terms and paid extra because it was so offensive, I still feel kind of you when I think about. The least offensive was along the lines of calling him my little bitch slave to a white queen. He clearly had a very big race kink. Gorgeous tats too. I actually set up this account to mostly sell pics of my feet but progressed to tights, panties and a few videos, so not a full-time sex worker but made some money from this kind of thing. Anyway, there was one guy who always wanted to buy my used tampons. He specifically wanted them as fresh as possible. Oh, and another guy always sent messages about videos of me sitting on balloons and bouncing on them until they popped. Not a bad one, just random. I figured in the end that if you can think of any fetish then there is someone out there that has it. A doctor friend of mine told me about a patient that comes in at least once a month to have a potato removed from his ass. This is all the info I have. And more than I want. Not a sex worker but my ex was. Old guy used to come in occasionally and pay to be walked around on a leash like a dog, and at the end of the night he'd take home all of the used condoms and suck each one clean. I'm not even kidding. I put on my robe and wizard hat. A guy asked me to put cat in my ass. I declined and I quit camming soon after. That request made me question everything. I don't even have a cat. There's a guy on here a year or so ago who says he wants to hire someone to murder him while he has sex. It turns him on that much. I wonder if he ever fulfilled his dream. He also said his upbringing was completely normal. Great childhood. It's just his kink extreme pain and sex. Well, it better be good cause he's only got one shot at it. Gay couple here. We do live cam sessions. Sometimes we get private requests for fetish sessions. No problem. One guy was really into flip-flops. Wanted us to do a full sex session with flip-flops on. Easy. Except we got into the session and he kept sending messages. Put your feet flat on the table so I can see them. So we get into this really awkward penetrative position trying to keep our feet flat on the coffee table. Then whenever we'd move our feet in the slightest he'd be like feet flat on the table. Then he complained about the expense after. Nah. The sweetest one was the guy who just wanted to see us wash and dry each other's hair shirtless. That was cute. Obligatory not a sex worker, but I had a friend who used to sell used underwear online. And she said the worst request she ever had was a guy who wanted her to wear little girl's underwear and send it to him. He also wanted a video of her crying. He said he had a pay fantasy kink and he also had a young daughter that my friend apparently resembled, so pretty sure she reported him. While in Thailand, I knew a guy that paid a lady of the night to give her a massage. She looked really uncomfortable with him massaging her shoulders. A mature woman wanted me to her in the ass while she talked on the phone with her son. I tried being a sugar baby for a short while but ended up giving up due to me realizing that pretty much the only people contacting me were married and cheating on their wives. I realized that I was old enough to be some of these men's daughters, 21 at the time, and I just couldn't do it in good conscience. Plus the pay was never what I expected, but at least I got some nice sushi lunch dates and one guy gave me an Amazon gift card, so that was a plus. Lol. Nah. Also there was one guy that I had a one night stand with that asked me to tell him I loved him. He was so hot, NGL probs the most physically attractive person I've ever been with. But it was weirdly too intimate and I never saw him again. I have a regular who is really into us doing C++ compiling. Hour upon hour. B guy. Not really a sex worker, but when I was younger, I used to occasionally trade sex for cash with guys I met on Craigslist. One older man used to slather on lipstick before giving me oral. He got off on seeing my dick and ass smeared with lipstick. Afterward, he would insist on cleaning me off with baby wipes. That was actually the most weirdly intimate part for me. Getting cleaned by him. Saw him only a few times. But scented baby wipes still bring back awkward memories. Edit. I guess I actually was a sex worker after all. I'm not a sex worker, but I used to trade sex for cash. Friend. I've got bad news for you. Online SW here, and every couple of months I get a DM asking, hey, do you have a dog? I had a friend who was asked to blow smoke through someone with a tracheotomy while fingering their butthole. Regular Tuesday night, I suppose. Sneak into the house and see him while his family is sleeping upstairs. I used to do cam shows and was surprised at the number of people who just wanted to watch me take a. Weird. But $5 is $5. Also don't understand why the site banned it when it was clearly so profitable. But I could slip it in occasionally. Former escort, one client kept asking for increasingly degrading and violent requests. Mostly just tying him a strap on or smacking him around a bit. Fine. He then upped the game to begging me to castrate him. I refused. He said he found someone who would do it, a former nurse or something. He wanted me to watch. Never responded. Then he contacted me again begging me to snuff him. Didn't understand what he meant until I looked it up. He wanted me to kill him. I had to explain that I'm not in the murder game and that being killed isn't a kink. You can't get off when you're dead. Guy was a pilot for a major airlines. Not gonna lie, give me creeps to think someone with that kind of depression is supposed to keep hundreds of people safe at high altitude. Not a sex worker. But I've been friends with women who were. One was a dominatrix who was requested to dress as a nun and flog a dude who jerked it onto a painting of Jesus. Another friend was a phone sex worker, and a guy asked her to keep snorting like a pig while he beat off. After 20 minutes and a sore throat for her, he asked her to squeal. "Please don't make me into bacon." She said she burst into uncontrollable laughter, and he was dead because she ruined his orgasm. Now I kind of want to hire a girl to help me do house repairs, so it shows up on one of these in the future. A guy had me come help put up drywall. Not a sex worker, but a public defender. This is non-confidential material that was produced in open court. A prostitute was arrested during an undercover law enforcement operation. The cops suspected she had a pimp and went through her cell phone. One of the incriminating text chains went like this: "Prostitute. Be on standby. This guy is really drunk and I don't know what he wants. Pimp. Okay. Prostitute. Okay, I figured it out. He wants me to suck you off and then you come in his face. He has $200. What do you want me to tell him? Pimp. I'll be there in 5 minutes." Not a sex worker, but met one at the pub once. They told me about their client they just had. Every few months he would get his Sisyphus done. What would happen was, the sex worker would collect all her for a month or two. Then, when she had enough, she would let him know. He would come in, dress up as a baby in a diaper. He would lay down on a big length of carpet and she would tip the all over him. Then roll him up in the carpet and leave him alone for a few hours. Then come back, unroll him, and that was that. Job done. Whenever they ask if I like it. A client a few weeks ago asked me to get revenge for all the horrible things men have done to women for years by beating him, breaking his bones, cutting into his muscles, blinding him. You name it. He wanted it. He quite literally asked me to put him in the hospital. Of course I refused, because that's illegal and I would be charged with aggravated battery. I also get no satisfaction from hurting people, even if they do want it. I tried being a phone sex operator. Not as fun as some people said it would be. One guy just wanted to listen to me sneeze for an hour. Do you know how much it hurts to pretend sneeze? He was a pedophile. You can probably guess what he wanted me to watch with him. Did you report him to the police? A client once asked if we could be wearing diapers. Then in the diapers. Yes, I was confused too. And then for me to in the diaper as we ed. Needless to say, I turned this client down. If clients have special requests, they have to ask about it beforehand. And in general we get a lot of the semantics requests what buddy is into out of the way before we even meet. So. And I will turn a client down if they request I'm not up for, or even just if they give me bad vibes. Don't pass my screening, etc. There are some hell lot of masochistic requests here. Not sure if cams count, but I had a regular customer pay me to wear tight watties, grandpa underwear, and act like I was picking a goldfish out of a tank and putting it in my underwear. I am not a sex worker, but I hooked up in the club with one girl.